hello, good morning, good afternoon, and very welcome to everyone joining us from different parts of South Asia and beyond. My name is Furqan Ahmed, and I have an absolutely honor to moderate this session. And on behalf of South Asia Research Institute for Minorities, I am truly honored to welcome you to today's international webinar, since we are commemorating the Social Justice Day, which will be taking place in a couple of weeks. So it's basically the pretext of that event. We are truly grateful for our speakers for expressing their solidarity for this event. And for those who are joining us for the first time, a slight introduction of what we do at SARIM. SARIM is a dedicated institution to defending and advocating the rights, advancing the rights of minority communities across South Asia, and I would say beyond, because we also try to expand our footprints at a global level as well. We do activities like conducting research, documentation, advocacy, and dialogue. We strive to highlight the lived realities of vulnerabilities and systematic injustices faced by marginalized groups, and to amplify voices that are too often unheard or unattended. Despite, if we look at what's going on currently or contemporary world, we do have the constitutional guarantees, international human rights frameworks, and decades of advocacy. Marginalized minorities across South Asia still and continue to face exclusion on the basis of caste, religion, ethnicity, gender, and socioeconomic status. While this webinar aims to critically examine and analyze these injustices, explore right-based solutions, and foster solidarity across borders. Once again, we are truly delighted to have with us a distinguished panel of scholars, human rights experts who bring diverse perspectives, and I would call it the youth and experience mix of speakers who will be enlightening us with their expertise and with their insights for today's theme. So I'm grateful to Mr. Laitonjam Muhindro. Please apologize or excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Who is joining us from Manipur, India. He's a director, research and development cell, and former head of human rights at Kula Women's College from Manipur University. And we also have the honor of having the company of Mr. Harshul Singh, who is an early career researcher and graduate from SOAS University of London. And I also happen to have worked under his supervision during his tenure as a president of International Association of Political Science Students. And we are truly, last but not the least, we are truly grateful to Dr. Sanghamitra, who is a postdoctoral researcher, associate at Pilani, KK Birla Goa campus. She's also board member of RC26 of Human Rights of IPSA. She also happened to be the chair of Asia Oceania Student Research Committee of International Association of Political Science Students. So without further ado, I think I have taken up a lot of your time. So I would be handing over the mic to our first speaker, Dr. Muhindro, with a question, and I would allow him to speak first. So the question would be, from your experience in human rights research and institutional engagement, I mean, what do you see as the most persistent structural barrier preventing marginalized minorities from accessing justice, and how can institutions realistically or honestly begin to dismantle these atrocities? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Farrell. I'm really appreciate the research initiated and the academic work instituted by the South Asia Research Institute. Thank you. And all the co-panelists, co-speakers, I'm very grateful with you. Actually, in my institute, but the Manipur, it is a very conflict state. Very conflict state in the sense that Manipur was a sovereign kingdom. A sovereign kingdom up to 1891, just after conquered by the British. In 1891, Manipur was under colonial rule of the British. Then Manipur was again sovereign country, sovereign state, democratic state, when British left out from India by 1947. But after about 1.5 years, in 1949, Manipur was merged with the Indian Union. But this merging is very debatable. So Since then, lots of hope and other was expected by the Manipuris, but it was not fulfilled by the Indian Union. Then Manipur got the statehood very late in 1971. Since then, insurgency movement was started in Manipur, 1970s. Then the questions of the human rights emerged, lots of human rights violations issues, because the government of India is their duty to control the insurgency movement. They also use different techniques and they even utilize the very draconian laws, Armed Forces Special Power Act in Manipur. So the question of the human right was very much uh, sorry state, but little bit nowadays it is, I should say, improved. But still, we are marginalizing and we are under a very bad situations because of this insurgency movement and perhaps it may be the very small state in Indian Union. On the other hand, statistical point of view, Manipur is a very important in the India Union. It is a buffer state along with the Myanmar, China, then Bangladesh, and other from statistical point of view. So India may perhaps some statistical point of view to control many issues, but on the other hand, ethnic conflict among themselves of the uh, Manipuris, the indigenous people of Meiteis and the Nagas and other ethnic groups. Nowadays, 36 ethnic groups are recognized by the government. Within these 36, some of the major ethnic groups like Meitei, Naga, and the Kuki have sometimes confronted, have sometimes conflict situations arise due to some problem and some issues. Perhaps it may be land and other resources issues, and on the other hand, it may be initiated by some unknown persons, maybe also, but I cannot express fully. So, with these conflict situations, many human rights organizations even uh, complained and even went to the United Nations organizations, human rights bodies to protect the human rights. And the extrajudicial killing was very plenty at the time. So human rights violation, not only human rights violations, social security was also very danger. Even the parents, even the siblings cannot have and cannot sleep very sound sleep if someone of their families back very late in a day. So even on the daylight, sometimes extrajudicial killing was also happen. So the issue of the human rights violation was very danger. Then Myra Pipes in Manipur, the women folk put torch bearer in hand and claiming and for justice to safeguard their sons and their daughters to safeguard from this inhuman act of the Armed Forces Special War Act was also started. Besides human rights organizations, a lot of human rights organizations who work on human rights was also in front of this situation of the human rights violations. So with these protests and with these confrontations, many experiences of the human rights violations was non-stop. Even the government was almost controlled by the central interference. Sometimes even the ministers was controlled by the army security forces. And sometimes we cannot move freely to a particular area. Nowadays, in conflict situation from 2023, Meitei and the Kuki was still going on. Meitei cannot go to the Kuki area, and the Kuki also cannot go to the Meitei dominated area. So conflicting situation is still going on. Even some outsiders may have seen it is better, but it is not better. Perhaps there may be some agencies handling these issues. but I cannot express it. So all these things, the question of the human right is very much plenty. So research scholars also can put up many materials and data for their academic purpose. Very much plenty we got. So in the meantime, sometimes foreign agencies, by taking the opportunity of the unwanted situations in Myanmar, many illegal immigrants were entered in the border areas of Manipur and Mizoram. By taking this situation, some foreign agency, I should say, and the foreign organizations helping one community to regenerate the conflict again and to take the opportunity of their settlement here. Perhaps it may be the strategy against the India foreign policy and the India Myanmar policy and the India USA policy, perhaps. So, still, we the people of the Manipur cannot stay here, cannot live here very freely. This is very insecure. This is the situation now we have in Manipur. After this, then if any question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhindro, for your response and for connecting the historical background with the contemporary issues of Manipuri people. You have highlighted that there are like 36 ethnic conflicts or ethnic communities going on, what conflicts pertaining to ethnic communities going on, which is very alarming. And you've also connected that many human rights organizations try and approach UN human rights bodies to protect and preserve the human rights and violations. You have linked the current situation like very profoundly, and thank you so much for responding to this critical dialogue. So from Manipur, I will be focusing. I'll move to Delhi right now. So I'll be asking Mr. Harshul, who is an early career researcher and graduate of SOAS University of London, with a question and his remarks. So Harshul, how can the intersectional approaches, particularly those centering caste, gender, and class, reshape academic research? This is pertaining to your niche and policy advocacy to better reflect the lived realities of marginalized minority communities. Over to you.
Thank you, Furqan. I think before I move on, I would like to also extend on Dr. Mohindro's his work. So I think, of course, I am very caught up with this phrase, improved, but still a long way to go. And I think that's very true. That's very true. It's somehow a fraught reality somehow of maybe of our state and still how we continue to live in this. So again, we are negotiating and we're navigating, and at the same time living in these realities, how odd, how hostile they could be, but again, we still make a meaning making lives out of these experiences and realities. And I think across, be it South Asia, be it the case of India, though I speak from my own Dalit personality, this is something has been a very odd experience. You continue to live, experience, see, and you still continue, you still navigate this, you still go on to continue these realities also at the same point. You still live in these imageries, these instances at the same point. So it's very uncanny and ironical in itself, how the minoritized or marginalized individual communities and people, how they make sense of these instances of their life. It's as odd it could be, but how ironical it is that we see it every day. Of course, beyond Indian border, beyond the larger boundaries of South Asia, be it so. So I am someone who works within a university life spaces and how university centers itself. And this has been a lot of my negotiation given my positionality when I entered this world of academia as a Dalit researcher then. So of course, very stark, very staunching, but also at the same point, has taught me a lot. Of course, when I emphasize this from my counterculture and anger of all those discrimination and odd experiences to being more calm and being more provocative, and towards a more solution oriented also in some aspects. So that has been something, has gave me a lot of exposure also at the same time, how marginalized communities, how minoritized communities, they make sense of these realities. And I think, and I say also that India, in particularly, or the case of South Asia, we are going a sort of a conscious movement. We do not have to wait for 10 years to make sense of this historical understanding. But again, I think the idea of majoritarian, the idea of a divided community, be it the caste psyche or be it divided on ethnic and religious line, that's very evident here in the whole geography and terrain of it. So I think that's really interesting. That's really violent at the same point, and that's really starking. But again, this is what I keep on asking. What's with the minorities? What's with the marginalized communities who are bearing it also? How they are experiencing it, and how they are still coming up the next day, still moving on these instances. How violent these lies are for them. So I think this something has been also resilient for me to make sense of solidarity, if at all. Also, to then make sense of how things progress for those who belong to these marginal rungs and bottom rungs of the society in general, because how they are recasted, how they are excluded, how they are made into othered. These are not other realities. These are not alternative. These are in realities in themselves as much as these are present consciousness in themselves as much. But again, how they are casted to be marginal, they cast to be minoritized. I think that is the bearing of minoritized and marginalized lives in our terrain. And of course, I think we all are seeing what's happening in Indian academia for the particular, say the kind of caste discrimination has gone up 118%, and how starkingly surprising, how the courts, how the government, the bill that was coming out, the UDC bill, and how the stay has come upon. It just really tells a lot about the human rights. It tells a lot about solidarity. It really tells about who is at stake in this negotiation. And who is bearing it at the same point, who has the privilege to still sit on this decision. So the caste psyche, which is the violent caste psyche, which is imposed also in its nature, has really played out. And I think for many young people, DB, Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi communities, or the marginalized Muslim communities, I think these are very odd realities, because how unhappy and how discriminatory these are. We are still living in this. We're still negotiating and navigating these instances. And again, coming together in these spaces. Again, I think, of course, some thoughtful, provocative butterfly rippling effect comes out of these conversation. But I just wonder, how far these could go. As also Dr. Muhindro says, improved, but still a long way to go. So this is a fraught reality. These are still conflicting, but these are something that we are still meaning making out of them. So. And I surely believe, and I strongly believe, I would say, as an Ambedkarite myself, in my affinities and solidarities, like marginalities and minoritized communities have a better vision for future. Being oppressed and suppressed for such a long time, I think they have a better utopia to imagine for themselves, where everyone is given equity. But again, if allowed to dream, so if allowed to participate in so. And again, I think the idea of solidarity, the idea of understanding, if we all share similar understanding, similar affinities, similar ideologies, or even if we can keep them back and still come together to imagine, like every one of us has to be equal. Every one of us deserves to be equal. That same opportunity, no matter what your surname is, no matter what caste you're born in, what religion you're born in. That does not need to be something that make you something any less. That needs to make you any marginalized community, because certain orders, certain format recast and manufactures you to be so. And again, that is something I would like to also move on and end with. All marginal, monetized communities, be it Dalit, be it Bahujan, be it Adivasi, be it Muslim, be it queer, people of color, we are beautiful beings. We have a lot of temperament. We have a lot of rationalities in ourselves. And again, we all deserve a chance to share that space, celebrate that space with everyone. I think that will be my point.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harshul, for connecting your dots from negotiating and navigating the realities, and then how beautifully you have crafted and said that people from our communities and people from your communities are very, very accepting in terms of, because we and you come from a background where we have already endured a lot of issues pertaining to our own self, pertaining to struggle, pertaining to getting access to social justice, as this theme is related to. And you've also connected well to how you countered yourself from the culture of being Dalit, from a person from Dalit communities. And thank you so much for like beautifully crafting your response in today's theme. And these are like very, very much aligned, the issues of recasting and the othering that you guys still face. And the question is, how far can we go, right? How far can you go to bear all these uh, and then another point, like I mean, despite all these constitutional amendments, despite all these legal protections, where is the implementation going on? What is going on with the weaponization of such legal aspects? So yeah, thank you so much. This could go on and on because uh, people sitting at a hierarchical settings won't going to change it or won't going to accept it. So keep fighting, keep contesting, keep doing what you are doing right now. So I will be turning my focus to a colleague, Dr. Sanghamitra, who has been patiently waiting for her turn. Dr. Sanghamitra is a postdoctoral research associate at Pilani from Birla, Goa campus. She also is a member of the board of IPSA Human Rights and also uh, happen to work as a chair of the Student Research Committee of IEPS. So, with the question, like in your perspective or in your point of view, how can legal and human rights frameworks be made more responsive, as I said, where is the implementation goes, to the specific challenges faced by minority women and other vulnerable groups beyond symbolic recognition?
Okay, thank you so much, Furqan, for this space, and thanks to SARIM for providing such opportunity to the marginalized community and the minority community to keep their voice. So basically, today's theme is about the social justice and reclaiming justice for the marginalized and minorities. So basically, when we talk about the social justice, this is the principle to ensure the fair and equitable treatment to all the individual in the society, regardless of their background, their identity, circumstances, then yeah, a lot of things are there. So uh, it also focuses to address the systematic inequalities, such as based on the caste, gender, then religion, then ethnicity. Even already professor has mentioned about ethnicity and even disabilities also. So to promote the equality and to access, like to promote towards accessing the equal opportunity and rights and towards the dignity as well. So if basically in South Asia, if we see the marginalized communities on the basis of caste, then indigenous tribals and caste as Dalit, then indigenous tribals groups as Adivasis, and like multiple groups are there. Then as a religious minority within India, Islam or Muslim people are minorities, and within Pakistan, Hindus are also minorities. And if we take the Christian, Sikh, and Buddhist, they both are minorities in Pakistan and India, and Tamils also minority in Sri Lanka as a Hindu Tamils. And coming into the ethnicity, also Rohingya Muslim, they are minority in Bangladesh. Those who are coming to even Myanmar and India as a refugee also. So these are the, like, basically the background of the minorities and the marginalized sections all over the South Asia. So coming into basically the Indian perspective, if I see caste discrimination, it's starting like where I'm not going to the root actually exactly. The caste discrimination uh, still persisting after the like framing of the constitution also, like in the constitution framing how they gave the equal rights to all the individual, but after the constitution also still continuously these marginalized people are facing discriminations. So and to safeguard this discrimination, Indian constitution has provided reservation or affirmative action, but in reality people take it as an economic framework, or they used to look into it as an economic framework, but it is not exactly the economic inequality, or it's not even poverty alleviation policy or framework. It is the social inequality what was existing in the society, even till also continuously existing in the society. Correct that injustice, this historical injustice, the regeneration came into existence. So many Indians, they don't have this sense of looking this regeneration or affirmative action as a social justice, but it is actually the social justice who is addressing the systematic barrier faced by the vulnerable groups. So again, I'll look into the gender perspective also within caste as well as the gender, because gender comprising, if you take minority, even caste, even religion, or women's are like big portions of all these marginalized sections. So like they continuously face this discrimination, starting from patriarchal societal perspective, or like starting from the family, friend circle, even in the office also. If you work with 10 or 12 male colleagues, sometimes they don't consider the opinion of women. Why it is happening? Because their mentality is completely, like, directly or indirectly occupied by the patriarchal notion. So again, I'll come to the caste discrimination when there are exclusion from the institutions, the social institutions, the educational institutions, then the religious institutions, so and the governmental institutions also. When we are talking about the governmental institutions, suppose in India from 1950 to till now, if we take the example of judges, around 28 judges has already appointed up to 2025 or 2026, but out of 28 judges, only 8 to 9 judges will be from the Dalit community or marginalized community. So this is only 4% of their representation. It is showing itself the exclusion of particular groups in the like judiciary as well as the governmental institutions. One more example I'll tell that NSSO 2000 report is saying around 40% of dropout of the school's children, those who are belongs to the SC/ST communities. So government is there; they should look into such aspect, and they should take the strong major action to bring such like to reduce the such dropout and to bring the students to the educational institutions. But again, like government is silent in that aspect. Again, one more example or instances I'll give that regarding the civil service examinations or recruitment, there is provision the SC/ST should be 22.5% in that sector, but actually only 8% representations is there. So it's not about only representation, it is also showing that lack of will of the government to bring such community to the decision making or to the institutional level. So again, so these are the real data I gave, as recently you can see the UGC regulation came. Why UGC regulation came? Because there are a lot of discrimination inside the campuses, like from like before even Rohit Vemula suicide case issue. Like Dalit and minority and marginalized section continuously demanding whatever the discrimination they are facing, they are demanding for the protection. Due to this, if discrimination is not there, how UGC is bringing these rules? Their discrimination is there, of course. So everybody, and these rules and regulation also not completely perfect, because whatever the demand has given by the student community, those who are facing the challenges, the demand has not fulfilled completely, because it's only for the central university and some higher educational institutions. It is not about the IITs and many other institutions. So, okay, I'm not going into the details of this UGC regulations, but I'm telling there is discrimination still within the country. Those who are doing the discrimination, they are protesting against to take out this rules or take out this provision. Why they are doing? Because they are feeling they are not they are not going to change their behavior, and if they will do such discrimination, they will face the problem. That's why they are continuously opposing such rules, who take it back. And regarding even religious minorities, if you see the university campuses, I am the eyewitness also. I have seen many times some people, if some Islam fellows, like students, they used to cross the way. Some people, they will say Jai Sri Ram. What is the point to say Jai Sri Ram? Because they are just trying to instigate the other fellows. Being India as a secular country, this sense of secularity should be within the the individual. Within the individual, everybody should be sensitized. Okay, you don't have sense of this sensibility of this secularism, but why to triggering or commenting somebody to feel awkward or feel suffocation within that space, because that space is not for particularly some particular group, it is for everybody, right? So these are the discriminations, different form of discriminations I'm telling. So uh, like till people are fighting for it, till people are surviving through it, till continuously we are going and we are empowering ourselves within ourselves, because there is no way, we have to go ahead and we have to come ahead. As already Harshul mentioned that our ideas, our notion of development or better life is better than those who have demanding they have better idea. So that is actually correct. Our marginalized and minorities, they have great idea, they have great sense of humility and humanitarian aspect than other categories, those who are completely biased with this religious and caste biased structure. With this note, I just want to even give you 2 points that government should focus on strengthening strong rules regarding the atrocities, as well as they should create, even government should create the space for women participating in not only in politics as well as in many institutional spaces to take their decision, because without women's participation and involvement, that is only one category of people, those are male or other category, third gender, they are we have to include women's in all the spheres, so that we can think about a justiciable and equitable society. So with this regard, I'm thanking Furqan for this space.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanghamitra, for sending such a powerful message regarding giving space to women in all spheres, so that they can also practically, work their way to the issue that they are facing. You have talked about the systematic injustices that communities face in India and in other South Asian countries as well. You've linked the will of the government. There's a lack in the willingness of the government on the faces on the idea of the promotion of human rights. You said there's the one thing that I like about your remarks regarding the exclusion of particular groups in judiciary. I mean, as long as they're not there, who will be able to raise their questions or concerns, or at least address their concerns. You have been providing data with such a command that, it was surprising to see that 40% of the dropouts from the schools, and still the government taking no notice of it. You have mentioned how religious minorities and academic institutions face exclusion and other slurs to make them uncomfortable. So on this note, I am absolutely grateful to all the speakers for providing their time, for taking their valuable time at such a short notice, and also thank you, Dr. Muhindro, as well, for your participation. And Harshul, as always, you have been really contributing to the cause, and Dr. Sanghamitra as well. She's always been supportive of what we are doing, because we are actually trying to do and provide spaces to communities. Although I've approached many other individuals from all across South Asia, but since they were occupied, they had prior commitments. But thanks to you for showing up and enlightening us and our listeners for on the theme today. So, today's discussion reinforces the urgent need for inclusive, accountable, and right-based approaches, as all of our speakers indicated in their respective remarks, to reclaim justice for marginalized minorities, social justice is not merely a concept; it is actually a continuous process. And as I said, we can keep on, we can keep going on as long as we have till our last breath. That demands research, solidarity, advocacy, and action. And we encourage all our participants to stay connected with SARIM through our website and our social media platforms, and to continue these conversations. And thank you so much once again for showing the solidarity for today's theme.